What's up everybody, Brian Tong here again at WWDC 25 with another video. Can you tell we're getting punchy? Yeah, it's been a long couple days, but this is all about visionOS. All right, so a couple of these things we're gonna talk about, I did talk about in the overall package of WWDC because they were important, but we're gonna get really into the nitty gritty and break down what Apple talked about. And visionOS, I think this was an important year for them to just show how they're evolving and what some of these implications mean for the future of wearable products from Apple. We obviously have to start off with what I liked, widgets. Widgets coming to these, let's call them a spatial experience, where we know widgets from the Mac, things like the time, things like weather, things like a music player or your photo albums, they can now be customized by frame, size, color. You can recess them on the wall. These will be persistent, meaning if I turn on my Vision Pro in my living room, and once I turn it on, it knows where some of these things have been placed. I'll actually have like a virtual spatial clock in that environment. You can do that here with visionOS. So widgets, developers will be able to jump on board with their apps. I think this could be a little fun thing if they really want people to live with this thing in their home. Spatial Scenes get a boost. Apple said there's a new algorithm. This is where you convert a 2D photo into a 3D photo. It's almost as if you're looking in a window now and you're being able to move a little bit around side to side to see this photo that you've taken before. I do want to let you know that I've now kind of considered taking shots a little wider, factoring in the fact that when you do a spatial scene, it crops it and it uses those pixels to give you that depth. So just consider that. Another thing with these spatial scenes is that you can view this content. There's actually Apple's Spatial Gallery app where you can see a lot of this stuff from curated creators that Apple partners with. And then spatial scenes can also be viewed on the web. So if there's websites that support this in their articles, things like real estate photos where you look around homes and things of that nature, you can take advantage of it there. Apple's also pushing new shared experiences now. This one is interesting because remember, one of the buzzworthy features from when the Vision Pro came out was the persona, right? This was a digital avatar that used the cameras inside the headset to create a version of me. And I mean, a lot of people said that mine looked really good. I did a video with Justine and Marquez, and everyone had their own thoughts about who looked better, how did this compose these faces? Was the mouth movement pretty accurate? The eye tracking pretty accurate? It was good, really good for mine. People said Justine's and Marquez's weren't as good, but now they have a new version of personas. I got a chance to create a new one at WWDC 25, and it's the same exact setup process as before, but hey, take a look. This is the new official persona. Remember, it was a beta in the first time that I did this, but I can tell skin texture, clarity, like my nose. Like, look at that, look at that. Even the little freckles on my skin, some of the texture. Turning my ears are a little more detailed if you're into ears, guys and gals. This is cool. But definitely the realism here is, yeah, it's killer. This is nice. I've got to do another call here and see what my other friends look like now. Dig it. All right, later, y'all. So this is going to bring more realism to those experiences, whether it's FaceTime or whether you're in the same workspace. Here's the other thing. Apple did show a demo and said, hey, with shared experiences, you and a friend can watch a movie together. There were two people in the same room with two headsets sitting next to each other. I'm not here to criticize that, but who the hell is gonna do that? Like, just think of the costs involved. Each headset starts at $3,499. So you have two people sitting next to each other with headsets, watching on a $4,000 77, 85-inch TV, look at each other. Don't watch a movie sitting next to your friend with a Vision, but don't do that. Where I think this can be useful is definitely in a workspace collaborative environment, whether you're working around a 3D model in a room. For enterprise uses, I think this can be really handy. Also, remote work, someone advising from a different location, yes, but do not sit next to someone with a headset. That's just weird. And you know what that also is? That's a bad Apple. Moving on, if we stick with enterprise, how about using a shared pool of devices in business? Or even if I went over to my friend's house, we have the Vision Pro app that's on your phone. So it can remember your hand, your eye tracking data. And instead of having to do that whole setup process, essentially just walk up, sync up, and instantly and easily get access to use a Vision Pro that's not yours on the spot. One of the biggest announcements that I think helps move this category forward is support for spatial accessories. So they showed an example of a new pen called the Logitech Muse that was developed specifically for use with Vision Pro, and this allows you to draw and collaborate in 3 dimensions, whether it's for architecture or design. I'm not in those fields, but I thought that was really cool. The other thing though, that this may change at least how Vision Pro is looked at as a gaming device, complete support with PlayStation's VR2 Sense controllers, right? Those are those true VR controllers that you put on your wrist, can track movement, 6 degrees of freedom. They have buttons. The biggest thing for me is I love this announcement, but this is gonna come down to developers to support it. And we know, we've seen PlayStation VR 2, how not enough developers have jumped on board. You have the hardware compatibility, you have the platform. We know how many Vision Pros have not necessarily sold as well as Apple hoped. So it's a limited user base. What developers are gonna jump on board to have these both work together? And also, is it gonna be up to Apple to convince or support financially gaming studios to be able to leverage this? It always comes down to the developers and the games. That's why we're here at WWDC. I love where this is going, but I am concerned right now if we're actually gonna see the fruits of that labor. For me, content has always been king on a media consumption device like the Vision Pro. So Apple is saying, hey, we're bringing more support for not only viewing content, but content creation. Now, we don't know the official name of the app, or at least I don't know at the time of this recording, but Adobe will have a dedicated app that allows you in Vision Pro to edit and view spatial video. That's gonna be really interesting to see how that might spark more creators to get involved in the platform over time. And then you also have the ability where they are now supporting and partnering with companies like GoPro, Insta360, and Canon for native playback of 180, 360, and wide field of view video. So supporting all those action cameras being in the world. I'm gonna take this surfing, I'm gonna take this scuba diving, and I can just look in the environment. That's gonna be pretty sweet. Apple also said that they really want to pioneer this new frontier of what they're calling the spatial web. So what you can do is websites that integrate 3D objects on their page, you can pull them out into your space, interact with them. But Apple's really saying, hey, we're going to help push this spatial web forward, and we'll see how far they get. Now, you always see this breakdown at the end of all the features that are coming to their OSs. And here in visionOS 26, there's a lot of things they did not showcase and talk about. So if you look at that little chart, that grid that they have here, one thing they didn't show is look to scroll. This has been a rumored feature where I can look at a page of information and it will follow my eyes and scroll. That is coming to visionOS 26. We never saw it displayed, but it is gonna be a piece of this puzzle. Another one, if you're wearing the Vision Pro and you own an iPhone and you've done this, you always have to punch in your code, which is really annoying. You can now unlock your phone while wearing Vision Pro. Reminds me of how you can unlock your Mac when you're wearing something like Apple Watch. That is coming in visionOS 26. Also improved 90 Hertz hand tracking. Why is that important? They have some of the best hand occlusion when you're looking at in an app or an environment and you can see your hand. 90 Hertz tracking, that's gonna improve, so that's a great thing. And finally, for organization, you can now create folders in the home view to sort your apps. It sounds basic. It's been, what, a year and a half or so? This was needed, so they're gonna do that. And then on top of that, a new environment in Jupiter, in space. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can bask in the glow of Jupiter. That's all here in visionOS 26. So this was a breakdown of all the new features they're bringing. I can't wait to get my hands on it because, again, Apple didn't show us everything that was announced or put up on that chart. But you know what? We're here in Cupertino, we're here outside Apple Park. We'll be bringing more videos for you. Yes, we will. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.